page airport information Victor 1452 Zulu. Wind 120 at 7. Visibility 10. Sky clear. Temperature 17. Dew point 9er. Altimeter 30.
Clear for takeoff. Right turn to the west approved. 497 Mike Tango.
All right, final is clear. Runway is clear. I am cleared for takeoff. Right turn to 270. Turning my heading to 270.
Well, hello and welcome. I have a saying that it's tough to be black and white in a gray world. It seems we are all focused on our way versus the other way, right versus wrong, good versus bad. We see it in our conversations and discussions about politics, religion, gender, how you squeeze your toothpaste, and maybe how you position your toilet roll, and so on and so forth, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I've learned that it is essentially impossible to convince someone that they are wrong and need to change the way they're doing things. So why try? Live and let live, and don't bring it up. The old advice stating you should never talk about politics and religion spans many generations. There must be something to that. Now, in the aviation world, we generally get along. One of the great things about our community is our common unity, that being our love of all things aviation. When together, we don't talk about things that divide us because it's so much fun to talk about the thing that we love, general aviation. Yet, pilots are strong-willed, and we are known to have strong opinions on some very specific preferences. One that still comes up with me is determining if our moving map is north up or track up or heading up. As a baby boomer, I was born in the 50s. I was brought up without GPS, and we took a lot of family trips, and we always used to drive in the car, whether it was a local trip or a cross-country one. In addition to checking our tire pressure and oil level before we left, we always had a road map in the glove box. And if you crossed the state line, you'd stop at a gas station to pick up their current road map. The map was always held by the driver with north up, so you could read the streets and the labels. And as a result, our brains became very used to and wired to know that when moving south, a turn to the east was a left turn. We didn't have to think about whether something was a right or left turn. We just knew visually. And it's kind of like learning a new language. At first, before you can speak, you have to translate words in your head, and then you can spit out a sentence. But soon you begin to think in that language, so it's instantaneous. And that's how I am with North Up. It's how I think, and it's instantaneous. I find it interesting that pilots that tell me I'm wrong are the same pilots when viewing an IFR approach chart. They view it in a North Up fashion. And the MFD, when you bring up the approach chart, also shows that as north up as well. That happens because it is more easily read and understood. I'm not sure about non-Garmin MFDs, but with Garmin there is a map setup option called North Up Above, which automatically changes the orientation to north up when you zoom out to the selected range. I suspect they offer that option because north up is how humans view the world normally. And therefore, at some range, it's natural to show north up. Now, there is a case for those that use track up or heading up with traffic. And on my PFD, I use the traffic inset in the lower left corner. That inset is automatically on a track up basis. And since cardinal directions are less important than where the traffic is relative to our plane's position, I'm very comfortable using that for traffic awareness. Where north up really shines for me is not having to see compass headings to know the cardinal direction of the surrounding airspace. The upper left of the screen is always northwest and the lower right is always southeast and so on and so forth. So I can quickly tell ATC where I am in relation to a waypoint, or where the weather is, or what direction I want to divert if necessary. That's also instantaneous. For example, I'm going to put up a couple quick images from the MFD. Where are we in relationship to our destination? For the first image, I hope you were quick enough to see the compass rose. In the second, no additional info is necessary. We are northwest of the airport. So if north up has such a strong case, why am I in the minority? What happened that so many people prefer track up, such that the moving map always shows the airplane heading to the top of the screen? I think when the concept of GPS came out and then a moving map became more mainstream, the younger generation, or those starting later in aviation, started to adopt track up since it kept their left turns and right turns, how do I say it, left and right. So putting aside them using IFR charts and north up and the Garmin auto change to the north up at a certain range, these pilots are more situationally aware when using track up, which makes it the absolutely right decision for them to fly that way. And why north up is the right way for me. Everything on the instrument panel is there to improve a pilot's situational awareness. And the more situationally aware a pilot is, the safer he or she is. And that's why there is no one right way setup for the way the screens are displayed, map orientation, or any other setup of the avionics. That's why pilot profiles exist, which is to quickly ensure the plane is set up for you and what you are comfortable with. It means a safer and more enjoyable flight. So like politics and religion, there is no one right way for the pilot community. There is a right way for each of us, and thankfully we get to choose. I always joke that the reason my wife and I have been together for about 50 years is because we realized she squeezed her toothpaste in the middle and I squeeze it at the bottom. It's not worth fighting about, so we each get our own tube. And that's why each pilot gets his or her own setup. It's a beautiful thing. So now we can move on to the things we agree on, like configuring your plane for the different phases of flight using manifold pressure rather than percent power. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe there are a couple more items we should take off the discussion list. Let's keep aviation our happy place. Thanks for flying with me today. I'd love to hear from you on these or other pilot preferences that seem to generate a lot of discussion and opinions. We learn from each other, so let's get the conversation going. And until the next episode, blue skies and tailwinds.